following the Becky Lynch segment, we headed straight into a matchup between two great wrestlers, Angel Garza and Rey Mysterio. This is a feud that's been boiling over the last couple of weeks and months, but as it's something I pointed out on Twitter, it's funny to see that the United States Championship is being contested by a mostly Hispanic group of people. It seems as though outside of the Hispanic community, no one wants to know anything about the United States title on the Raw side of things. You know, for a roster of people made up of like close to 100 wrestlers, I would expect more people to be interested in the United States title rather than just Rey Mysterio, Angel Garza, Andrade, and Humberto Carrillo. Does no one else want a secondary title? Angel Garza and Rey Mysterio, there's nothing negative you can say about these two. Rey Mysterio, for his age, he's still got it. There's one thing I will admit, and you may have seen it here, when Angel Garza lifted him up for the powerbomb and then threw Rey, and Rey landed on his feet, there was slight hesitation in Rey in the way he landed, almost as though like he missed a step or maybe like knocked himself a little whoopy. And from there, it was a bit sluggish in terms of Mysterio's movement, but after that, after a couple of seconds, he got his bearings back and it was full speed ahead. And that's exactly what these matchups have been like between Rey, Garza, Andrade, and Humberto Carrillo. It's been full speed ahead, and no one, and I mean no one, could say that they haven't given the fans great matchups. And that's what I love about what Raw's been doing as of late. We've complained over the last several months to close to over 2 years about how Raw and SmackDown have, well, mostly Raw, they haven't been doing anything with their talent. They've basically been making them flounder around, and they felt useless, and they weren't giving fans like good wrestling matches. Most of it was devoted to in-ring segments that took up close to 2 hours of Raw's time. But between Rey, Angel, and Humberto and Andrade, they've been coming out and giving some good matches. They've been giving some good back and forth, hard-hitting, high-flying, and exciting matchups. And the fans tonight in Washington, they ate it up and they loved it and they had themselves a good time. And with Rey Mysterio, you know you're in for something special, especially over the last several months since his return to the WWE. He's delivered some fine performances, especially him and Andrade. They've delivered several fine matches, and even his matchup against Brock Lesnar, it was exciting. It was fun. Rey still got it. No one should ever say that Rey was on the end of his career. This guy, he could wrestle maybe until his 60s, and he'll still look as amazing as he does today. So Rey Mysterio and Angel Garza do battle. Rey Mysterio picks up the victory over Angel Garza. That's another victory in Rey Mysterio's book. To me, it seems like we're heading in a direction where Rey Mysterio may be challenging Andrade for that United States title. And I did say, I think at the Elimination Chamber on my recap that I wouldn't be surprised if Rey Mysterio, Humberto, and Andrade and Angel Garza do battle at Wrestlemania or at some point in a Fatal 4-Way match for the U.S. title. For the amount of time and focus that's been put on all four of these men over the U.S. title, it would make the most sense for them to compete for it at WrestleMania. It would make more sense for those four to compete instead of like a random 6 people just appear out of nowhere, especially since Andrade has been the main focus of these 3 other men's, has been the focus amongst these 3 men. So Mysterio picks up the victory over Angel Garza. You had yourself a good high-flying luchadorian, I don't want to say cruiserweight style, but a quick-paced matchup where a lot of high-flying spots, a lot of dangerous moves, but nothing you can say that was a little too crazy. You can't. It's the matchup was, in a way, as much as it was high-flying spots, it wasn't as crazy as your typical ROH, AEW, and indie performance, where a lot of these guys would have been doing Canadian destroyers off the top rope, 360 moonsaults into a Hurricane Rana. We didn't get that. We got yourself a good classic WWE luchador style matchup, and that was a good way to kick things off on Raw, to have yourself a good quick paced match. Fans wanted a good match, especially coming off a hot interview segment, hot promo segment by Becky Lynch. Why don't you just kick things off with a good quick matchup? And Rey Mysterio and Angel Garza gave the fans a hell of a matchup to kick off the show. So following the Rey Mysterio and Angel Garza matchup, we kicked things off with a segment involving the Monday Night Messiah and entering Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens is making his way into the arena. For those who remember, at the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, Kevin Owens cost Murphy and Seth Rollins the tag team titles to the Street Profits. His interference caused Seth Rollins to get distracted and caused the Street Profits to pick up the victory. And at the end of that matchup, once all was all said and done, Kevin Owens did hit Seth Rollins with a stunner and then walked off eating popcorn. So it would be no surprise that popcorn was going to be involved in this one today. So in comes Kevin Owens. He's greeted by the Monday Night Messiah with Seth Rollins, who happens to be eating popcorn, having himself a good time. He offers Kevin Owens the popcorn in a bag, offers him some kernels, be like, hey Kevin, would you like some popcorn? But what makes the segment stand out above everything else is the fact that here is Seth Rollins eating popcorn with his gloved hand. There's nothing more heelish, I guess, than eating popcorn with your covered hand rather than eating with your free hand that doesn't have a glove on it. I don't know if that was done intentionally, but it was kind of funny, and it was kind of like, hey, what the hell, dude? Why would you eat popcorn with your glove? Don't you like the feeling of it on your hands? Don't you love the buttery feeling? Anyways, so Kevin Owens is beaten down by the Monday Night Messiah. They exact revenge over what occurred the night before. They hit him with a rack that happened to, for some reason, be in the back for some reason. I don't know why the hell there was a bakery rack just lying around backstage area. They beat him down with that rack. They throw him against the wall. They kick him, and out comes Jamie Noble and the rest of the crew to break off the Monday Night Messiah and say, that's enough, stop beating him down. So from there we head up to the Rhea Ripley promo, explaining her journey to Wrestlemania. We see her walking through the Wrestlemania arena, Tampa Bay, Florida. She's making her way through it. She's looking around and she's taking it all in. This is where she's going to be competing in less than a month against the legendary former women's champion, Charlotte Flair, and one of the most anticipated matchups at the WrestleMania pay-per-view itself. So Rhea, we have ourselves a good segment. For the fans who don't know Rhea, for the WWE fans who are unaware of Rhea and her work in NXT and her body of work of NXT, this was a good promo to help build her and to help hype her up. Because right now the fans we know who Charlotte is. We're attached to Charlotte. We've seen her over the last several years dominate the women's division, and she's a 7-time world champion. If I'm correct, a 6 or 7-time world champion. So for the casuals or for the unknowns who don't know exactly who Rhea Ripley was, this was a good promo video to hype her up and to build up a connection with the fans. So at least when we get to Mania, people will be aware who she is, rather than just watching Rhea come out and push Charlotte on the ground or brawl with her or just talk shit. Give us a backstory. Give us who Rhea is. Where did she come from? And what got her to this point? We need that, because leading into this match, Charlotte's not a face, but Charlotte, due to the fact that she is Charlotte Flair, the daughter of Ric Flair, and due to the fact that she is one of the greatest, if not best, women's wrestlers today on any brand, on any in any company, period. The fans are generally going to cheer for her because of her status and because of how good she is. So, out comes Charlotte Flair after the Rhea Ripley hype video. She addresses the audience, she addresses the video that was just shown, and she makes it clear that you could play all the videos you want, but at the end of the day, you are not Charlotte Flair. You are not the greatest women's wrestler today. And no matter what you do, no matter what video you play, no matter how much you try to hype yourself up, you are never going to beat me. She makes that clear. You're never going to beat me. So out comes Rhea Ripley. Music hits. She gets in the ring, confronts Charlotte Flair. Charlotte looks at her. What are you going to do? Rhea Ripley, quite simple, sweet, straight to the point, shoves Charlotte to the ground, holds her title up in the air, walks out of the ring, and makes it clear that Charlotte can say whatever she wants, but at the end of the day, it will not matter, because she is going to beat her ass. Just like that, without even saying a word, she made it clear that she is not afraid of Charlotte, and she believes deep down that she's going to beat Charlotte Flair for the NXT Women's title. Now, this is an interesting match due to the fact that it is for the NXT Women's title, right? The winner of this is going to stay on NXT. So what does that mean? Are we going to head into WrestleMania and is Charlotte going to lose to Rhea Ripley? Look, Charlotte taking a loss is not a bad thing. It's not going to hurt her. It's not burying her. It's not doing anything negative to her career. It's just going to help push Rhea Ripley to the next level. It's just going to help elevate the NXT brand even more. We're at a war. As much as people don't want to admit it, and as much as I don't agree that it is a war. I'm a fan of both pro wrestling companies. I'm a fan of pro wrestling in general. I don't look at it as a competition. I don't look at AEW versus NXT. I don't look at AEW versus WWE. I look at it as gives me as much good wrestling as possible, and I'll watch. I can't say that for Impact Wrestling, unless they're going to make a change in the near future, or maybe I haven't been paying attention to Impact Wrestling. But if they have made some strides and they have improved in terms of in-ring quality matches, please let me know and I'll check it out. But until that point, and until I hear that Impact Wrestling has nailed it out of the park or delivered an incredible pro wrestling match, I'm not necessarily going to take the time to tune in. Sounds stupid. It sounds, especially for a site. Anyways, so with that being said, for Rhea Ripley to pick up a victory over Charlotte Flair, that could boost ratings for NXT on Wednesday nights. Because now you've got the baddest woman on the planet. We'll say it, Rhea Ripley, the baddest woman on the planet. The woman who defeated Charlotte Flair. The woman who defeated the 7-time champion. The woman who defeated Flair. The woman who defeated the greatest women's wrestler of our generation today. And you can only find her on Wednesdays on NXT. Or we go about it a different way. Yes, we can boost Rhea Ripley to the moon. We could strap her with a rocket, send her flying, and push her as the next big thing, right? Because that's as Charlotte addressed it. Rhea Ripley is being addressed, is being promoted as the next big thing. Or at Wrestlemania, Rhea Ripley could lose to Charlotte Flair, and here comes a returning Charlotte Flair to NXT. It just becomes a question of what draws bigger ratings. Does pushing your young talent and Rhea Ripley over and having her defeat Charlotte Flair, does that benefit the NXT brand? Or does having Charlotte Flair defeat Rhea Ripley, your current NXT Women's Champion, and bringing that title to NXT and now competing on NXT brand, does that do more for the NXT brand? Because now check this out. Say WrestleMania comes and it goes, and you've got Becky Lynch still your champion, or Shayna Baszler, either or, two great women wrestlers, two great women to lead the women's division on Raw. You've got Bayley on SmackDown side of things, or Sasha Banks, depending who has the title after Mania. Say we got Bayley still. And then you've got Charlotte Flair on NXT. You've got 3 powerhouse women on 3 separate shows. You've got 3 of the best women leading the talent on each of their individual branded shows. Isn't that fantastic? What would bring more ratings? I think Charlotte Flair holding the title and defeating Rhea Ripley and potentially having a long-term feud with Rhea Ripley following the WrestleMania pay-per-view would do more for the NXT brand. But if you're going to look at things in terms of what will boost the talent, Rhea Ripley beating Charlotte Flair could do the same thing. It's just a matter of questioning of what direction is the WWE going to take. Do they want to take away the best wrestler from their WWE brand? Do they want to take away the best female wrestler off of Raw and bring her to NXT? It's a possibility, and it all depends on what we've got coming up. Because right now we would just be making a trade. You would trade Shayna Baszler for Charlotte in reality and bring in Charlotte to NXT. I think they've got their hands full in terms of what they've got to decide. I think... look, the Royal Rumble winner, Charlotte Flair, I think there's a good chance she picks up the victory at WrestleMania. And now I know during this segment, the fans were split 50-50 in terms of who they were cheering for. But personally, I think heading into Mania and at Mania, if Charlotte Flair were to pick up the victory over Rhea Ripley, I don't think the reaction would be as positive as we believe it would. I think it would hit a negative reaction, and maybe that's a good thing. Having the fans boo over the fact that Charlotte Flair wins is just fantastic, because now Charlotte is your heel. What better person do you want to boo on NXT? What will make you tune in more? Knowing that Charlotte Flair is going to appear on NXT, and knowing that Charlotte Flair is going to give a classic match at NXT TakeOver against almost any female on that roster. And they've got some great females. Bianca Belair versus Charlotte Flair. Rhea Ripley in a rematch versus Charlotte Flair. Tegan Nox and Charlotte Flair. Candice and Charlotte Flair. Dakota Kai and Charlotte Flair. And many, many others against Charlotte Flair would do wonders for that brand. Would be amazing for that brand.